Great, so we'll just do one round today because there's lots of lovely stretching to get through. Um, and yeah, for the start though, we'll just take our 6 breaths out. So feel free to put your hand on your belly and let it become nice and relaxed, really round. And then when you're ready, you can take some breaths out. Hi, Carol. Lovely to see you.
Great to be here. I was on a different link. All good.
Time zone, yeah. We've not changed yet, but we'll change. I'll send a wee email when we do change. We change on the 28th.
28. Okay, great. Well, nice to see everybody.
Really nice to see you. So we're just doing our 6 breaths. So when you're ready, you can take your 6 breaths out. And then you can focus on your tailbone, and we'll just do one round of 6 here. So just focusing on the tailbone. As we breathe in, we'll just take our attention all the way up the spine, back of the neck, all the way up and over. You can relax in between the eyebrows, the nose to the mouth, and then back down on the out breath all the way around. So focusing your attention on the tailbone, the tip of the tailbone, and breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing all the air out. Then breathing in, taking the attention up the spine, each vertebrae at a time. The back of the neck may be lengthening slightly upwards over the top of the head, relaxing between the eyes to the roof of the mouth, and then exhaling down the chin, the throat, the chest, the belly, down all the way under the body and back to the coccyx. Breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to the coccyx. Breathing in, taking the attention and awareness up over the top of the head, over the face to the roof of the mouth, and then breathing out, down the chin, tracing underneath, down the chest, belly, down all the way under the body. Breathing in, taking the awareness up, over the head, to the roof of the mouth, and then breathing out, taking the awareness down. And last breath, breathing in, taking the awareness up the spine, up the back of the neck, over the head, onto the roof of the mouth, and breathing out all the air, all the way down and round to the coccyx, and then breathe any last air left in the lungs. And then we can breathe normally. And when you're ready, we can come to stand. And we're just going to begin by doing a little bit of movement. And then changing. Starting to let the arms and shoulders become loose. And then from the ground, pressing up. And up again. Great, and then we can shake out the feet a little bit. And if you want, you can take it higher. And round. And to the side. And back. Great, and then we can just stretch the soles of our feet. And then when you want, just taking the heel down, making a nice space here, and we just twist one side and then the other. And then you can shake the legs, the hips, upper body. Great. Just take one more shake and you can just really go with it. Great, and then we can start taking one hand just here to support the other hand, coming all the way up. And like an elastic band, we just imagine that from the fingertip all the way to the heel is an elastic band that we're stretching so that it becomes nice and long, but not so that it becomes rigid. So we're doing one fluid movement, circling the arms round, circling one arm round. And as we come up, you can take the heel up, so slowly raising the heel at the same time as the arm. And then as we come down, the heel drops to the floor. And just taking that visualization and seeing what the sensation is in that side of the body. So can you feel the stretch from heel to fingertip? And then just adjust slightly to feel it more if you can't really feel it. And then we'll just change direction. So changing the direction of rotation. So we're just one straight line from heel all the way up. Great, and then we can do the other side. So same visualization, just visualizing an elastic band all the way from the heel to the fingertip, stretching so that it becomes nice and long, not so much that it becomes rigid. And then we can take it to the other side. And changing, interlacing the fingers, taking the palms facing out and upwards. And then just like an elastic band, we twist one way and the other. So again, not forcing. And then when you're ready, creating pressure between the fingers. So pulling them outwards but squeezing them together so that you're slowly pulling them away, and then at the end they just come out. Great. And then we have our two hands. that we stretch in opposite directions again like an elastic band. One comes just behind us here and one faces up. And we just imagine an elastic band going from one hand all the way to the other, which we want to lengthen but not become rigid. And then we twist the hands so the palms face each other as they come towards. They just pass each other, and then the palms face away from each other. Great, and then from here we can take the arms out, facing the palms up, and then one shoulder twists forward, rolls forwards, all the way till the palm faces up again. And then we look to the side which isn't rolled, and then we just switch from one side to the other. And just again stretching the hands very slightly in opposite directions. Great. And when you're ready, taking the arms forward, palms facing outwards, twisting in, the palms come together and down. So here, the chest comes out, the palms face out, and then the palms face each other. So just keeping it a continuous movement, and you can make it as big or as small as feels good for your body. So here, for example, you can really squeeze the shoulder blades together. That feels like a good stretch. Or here, you can really lengthen the muscles between the spine and the shoulder blades. Or here, if we press the palms together, stretching the tendons. And then we can change, taking it up 45 degrees out and then the palms come forward, and the arms twist, and then we're pressing out, pressing to the side, round and backwards, then just pressing on the ground and releasing. So coming up, out, and we change. So now we can imagine a big sphere, and we're tracing the sphere with our palms of the hands. So tracing it also in front of us, maybe towards the back, to the sides. Just visualizing a big sphere. And we can visualize it becoming bigger. So slowly getting bigger. And it can just stay whatever size is good for you today. Great. And we can take it in. And from standing with our feet facing forwards, we can take one toe facing out, the other toes facing forward, and we can just take our fingers and walk all the way down the leg. So whether we're here, just slightly feeling that, depending on how you're feeling today, coming. And then when you're here, we can just relax the neck. And taking a few deep breaths. And then we can walk all the way back up, taking the feet parallel and taking the opposite toes, the other toes out. And then just slowly walking the fingers all the way down and relaxing the head. And you can draw the belly button towards the spine, just to create a little bit of support for the lower back. And then we can walk all the way back up, taking the feet parallel, and then same again on the first side. Letting the upper body become heavy. And when you're ready, just walking your fingers all the way back. And left side. And taking it all the way back up. Great. And from here, we can take the elbows into the palms. So taking the elbows here, and then just let the upper body sink down. So folding from the hips and without resisting and without pushing, just letting the upper body sink all the way down. And just taking a few deep breaths here. And then releasing the arms. So we might be here or we might be on the ground, wherever we are, that's perfect. And we can walk our fingers forward, so away from us, forward as far as we can reach, and then coming round either side. So coming forward and then just coming round either side back to between our legs. And just doing that continuously, coming forward as far as we can reach, and then coming all the way round. And then when you're ready, bending the knees a lot, and we can take the elbows back and slowly coming up. Pushing the hips forward, and then each spine coming up and back. Mostly pushing up. And then coming straight. Great. And then we can take the arms again, opposite sides, and then again, just really letting the body fall. And as you breathe, you might want to start the inhale paying attention to the soles of the feet on the ground, and as you inhale, you can take the awareness up both legs, up to the hips, and then as you exhale, just taking it down. So wherever we are, and we can also bend the knees as much as feels good. So breathing, inhaling up the legs, and exhaling, relaxing the body down, the upper body down. And again, we can release the arms. And if you reach the top of your feet, the front of your feet, just grab the ball of your feet or the top of the foot with each hand. So the left foot with the left hand, the right foot with the right hand. And just lifting the toes off the ground and lifting that same shoulder on the same side off at the same time. And then doing the other side, so keeping the heel on the ground and just lifting the toes, and at the same time lifting that same shoulder. And then again, we can bend the knees lots, taking the elbows, then slowly coming up, back, and then up. Nice work, you guys. Relaxing the arms, shaking out a little. Shaking out the legs if you want. Great. We're gonna do the first 2 or 3 postures of a sequence called the connection sequence, where we pay a lot of attention to the energy. There's very specific visualizations for each movement, which we'll go through. So for this one, really what we're training, so we did the structure, and what we're doing is, rather than the structure being 3, we're just gonna break it into individual little parts. So if you imagine a pearl necklace, and there's all the pearls, and then there's the string that connects them all. So we're imagining that all, or the theory kind of is that all the parts of our body, starting with first the joints, become the pearls with a thread that connects them. So one pearl moves, and then the next pearl moves, and the next pearl moves. And then slowly it'll be split into even more parts. So first the joints, and then slowly into even more parts. And the visualizations will do. So you can stand with your feet around shoulder width, both facing forward. And then you can just imagine that string at the top of the head slightly, very gently pulling your upper body upwards. And you can just let your whole body become really light, visualizing the weight sinking down through the body, down through the soles of the feet into the ground. So the first visualization is from the ground. We visualize, you can either visualize it as energy, or you can visualize if it helps like mist or light, just whatever makes sense in your head. Visualizing from the ground up, that it comes first up the back of the body, so the energy coming up the calves, the backs of the thighs, the lower back, each vertebrae up one at a time. And as the energy rises, the body lengthens. So first the calves lengthen, backs of the thighs, each vertebrae lengthening upwards, lengthening the back of the neck. And then we just visualize the energy going over the top of the head and down the front of the body, and it just sinks down the front of the body. And as it sinks down the front of the body, we can just slightly bend our knees downwards. So it's like we're really releasing downwards. The knees become really light, the hips really relaxed and open, and we look up as we visualize the energy sinking down. So this is really feel the body releasing, really empty and heavy down. And as we visualise the energy going into the ground, we visualise then it coming back up the back of the body, and we lengthen the back of the body, each vertebrae up the top of the spine, over the top of the head, and then it sinks down, and we look up. Our knees bend just slightly, and then as it goes into the ground, we visualise it coming back up the back of the body, lengthening each part one at a time. And then down the front of the body, just feeling the body release. It's like something very light falling, a feather or a leaf or a drop of water sinking into the ground. And you can do this at your own pace. Just visualising the energy going up the back of the body, lengthening each part of the body, one part at a time, going up over the top of the head, and then releasing. And we look up. The back of the body lengthens. And the energy flows up over the top of the head, and the whole body just relaxes. The hips open, knees bend slightly, and we look up. The energy flows into the ground, and from the ground, coming up the back of the body, one part at a time. Great. And then we change. So this time, as if we're sitting on a bar stool, we just visualise, you can imagine a line going down from your coccyx, and you just draw a semicircle with that line behind you. So going from one side, taking the weight from one side to the other. So from one side here to the other. And then we also look, so we continue the rotation with the head. And the visualization for this movement is that the energy comes up over through the legs into the ground on the side where the weight is, and then the energy comes from the ground up, round as we turn around, and sinks into the other one. So where the weight is also where the energy sinks into the ground, and then it comes up as we come to the other side and down to the next side where the weight is. And just keeping your hips nice and relaxed, so as if we're sitting in a chair here, or a high bar stool, not so much a chair. Great. And from here, the last movement we'll do today is we just imagine our spine, and just down here at our center, we rotate the spine and the movement becomes bigger at the top. So the first thing we do is just relax the back of the neck, the muscles at the back of the neck, so that our head comes forward. And then moving from all the way down here, we start a small rotation, which becomes bigger as it travels all the way up the spine. So visualizing a spiral coming up the spine from down here all the way to the head. And we can change the direction. If there's any points where the neck or head feel particularly tight, feel free to just rest there a minute and let those muscles just very gently, just with your mind, imagine them softening and lengthening without pushing. So just using your mind. Great, and when your head is at the front again, you can let it lift up. So the visualization for this one is actually that our spine is a small tree, and at the bottom of that tree there's a snake which spirals up the tree, creating a vibration which makes the tree, which has a trunk much thinner at the top, spiral up. So it's really whichever one works for you, and you can just shake out, let yourself be nice and loose. So for the sequence of connection, which we just did the first 3 movements of, the most important thing is the visualizations. So once you feel fairly confident with the movement, you can, if it helps, close the eyes and do the visualizations. Great, and then you can just shake it. Shaking it, the legs a little. And maybe twisting. To one side and the other. Great. Nice work. Feel free to shake or stretch. Anything. Nice work, everyone. Hazel says, oh, to be sat on a high bar still, wouldn't that be a novel? Oh, wouldn't that be novel? Yes, I can't wait. Seems like it's coming soon. Great, so yeah, so the first one we were doing, the tendon sequence, is really to make our body nice and elastic, and then the connection sequence starts to build up on the structure and moving. So Holly, I think you had asked about whether we want to try and keep the structure with this one. That's a no, but for the connection sequence, there's more of the structural elements. So for example, our arch of the legs is always there, and then our arms as well, slowly. But really it's about having the whole body be connected and move as one part. So what my teacher used to always talk about was, rather than moving in a really coordinated way, we can be really beautiful moving in a coordinated way, and it's like a puppet. So if the puppeteer is really skilled, we can do all the movements properly. But we actually want to be like pizza dough, so that we don't have separate parts moving at the same time as each other. But if, for example, if the pizza dough, if you twist it or if you poke one part of it, the whole rest of it moves and expands. So we want to be like pizza dough or Play-Doh, whatever works. And as we twist or as we change any part of the body, the rest of the body through connection also changes. But yeah, it's a really cool sequence with lots of visualizations. You can go really deep. So it's great. Nice. How does everyone feel? Shall we do a... Good. Great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you're talking about keeping the structure of the sequence, that mean you, when you're doing that one where you like sink in and have your, and then you open up open up and sink. Anyway, when you're imagining it lengthening all up your back legs, and then does that mean you don't actually like straighten your legs? Do you always keep them bent?
No, actually, you're right. You do really stretch the legs. So you don't, I guess, yeah, I didn't formulate that very well, but so you do break the structures and parts of it, but there's more of a sense of keeping the hips points really relaxed. So when we're doing this one, we're just kind of standing comfortably rather than standing in that very slight spot. Whereas for all of the sequence of connection, there's that roundedness in the hips, if that makes sense. So when we stand here, when we're doing this, my arch of the legs breaks, but then we come back and we just feel so just paying slight attention, so allowing it to break, but just feeling where the structure is, and paying more attention. There's more volume in the arms, but yeah, you're right, it does. We don't remain in structure the whole time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I wasn't quite sure if the lengthening was just more visually, or if you actually were to kind of straighten up.
Yeah, no, you do straighten up and just lengthen the whole back, which would be breaking all the arches, but just coming back or having that awareness. I guess some movements also have more of that structure than others, keeping the structure. But yeah, great question.
Thank you. And one more. Yeah. Was that, would you normally do the elastic sequence follow before the connection sequence? Because it kind of feels like it's warming you up in
a way. I think you can do the connection sequence we used to do a lot as a warm-up. Actually, the elastic sequence we also sometimes used as a warm-up, so both can be used, and they're just quite different. So the connection sequence focuses a lot on the spine and spine mobility and just slowly opening the spine. So for the one twisting, and then we go in other ones, we go down and up again with the spine. So I think it depends how your body feels. You can definitely do one after the other if that feels good, or you can use either one to warm up if you want to do the form, or just do them separately. I think it's really up to you. I know that's not a really clear answer, but
no, it was no. You did answer it, because I was wondering if those sequences are themselves in a sequence.
Oh right, no. So the connection sequence is actually in a larger sequence, which is called the mother sequence. So the elastic or the tendon sequence is just on its own more of a warm up, and to just start to lengthen and things. We did it a lot for warm ups, but the connection sequence is the first part of the mother sequence, which has all of the basic principles: connection, expansion and contraction. When we move like a sphere, these movements, so they all belong to one sequence. I know that's maybe kind of confusing, but I can also put it in a document and it's fairly arbitrary, the sequences, what they're in, because it's really the principles that we're training or practicing. So as long as the principles are clear, which are different from the 5. So there's the 5. Sorry, am I confusing everyone? I feel like okay. So there's 5 in Neigong at the moment. So there was the structure that we're studying. Then there's the elasticity, which we're doing now. And then there's the spiraling force. So we practice what spiraling movements look like in the body. That's speeded up as the explosive force or the wobble, as it's been named. And then there's the sensitive force. But there's also, so this is just Neigong, what you practice. Altogether it becomes Neigong. But then the mother sequence, which is the principles of the movement. So the principles of the Tai Chi movement is connecting the body. So having the body be one piece, having the body expand and contract. So rather than the structure being still, it lives and it breathes. Then we move on one point, and then there's also the spiraling, so that repeats itself, the spiraling, and then the fadging also, or the explosive force also is within the mother sequence. I hope that's kind of clear. Not
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's nice. It's good.
Puts it in perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Ellie, did you say something about a sensitive force?
Mm-hmm. So the sensitive force is the last one we study in Neigong, and it's a lot about listening. So there's some individual exercises and there's a lot of partner exercises where once you have a structure and you keep the structure, once you're nice and elastic, once you do the spiraling movement explosive, it's really about being sensitive to everything that's going on, having the awareness, etc. I mean, it's always so there's always many layers, but put very simply, it's that. Nice, great.
I really enjoyed it. I just love following. I'm not memorizing. I really love it. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it's great. Especially this one is very simple. The connection one, once we get more familiar with the movements and you can really focus on the visualizations, and sometimes it helps to close the eyes, you become really aware of the body, and it's really amazing. It's a kind of a meditation at the same time because you're so focused on the visualization. So it's partly you're training your mind to stay very calm and aware at the same time. So yeah, that one's worth, well, I think once you get familiar with the movements you learn it anyway, so it's all good.
What is the visualization? This one almost looks like a crane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is the visualization? Is there an animal or a...
No, there's expansion and contraction. So we're expanding and then there's a contraction, expansion. So there's this one focuses more on expansion and contraction, and then expanding all the way down and then pressing down, and there's a contraction. So you can kind of put expansions and contractions are not set in stone. You can do it however it feels good, but generally expansions, you expand the body out, or you don't always expand the body. Sometimes you actually take it closer to itself, but the visualization is that the energy goes from the center to the periphery as you expand, and as you contract it goes back to the center. So the way I think of it is your awareness goes from the center to the periphery as you're expanding, and then your awareness goes back to the center point. And then on top of that, there's also, depending on where your attention is, there's also a yin and yang side, a yin and yang arm and leg, etc. But we'll get into that later if you guys are interested.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. And also for the precision of your description of the movements. For some reason that really I think it matters a lot, but I really love that level of guidance that you're providing, especially when upside down and I can't see you. But
everyone's like, I remember when we would do it in Sicily, everyone would just be trying to see, and but yeah, great, sweet. So there's just a short breathing today, and we're just gonna, so for anyone who feels like it, and really what we're doing today, because we focus a lot during the movement on the point of the center. Another point is just a point inside the chest, so you can imagine it as the heart or something, and just paying attention to the middle of the heart, and then just seeing what comes up. So just paying attention as we breathe, and then maybe allowing more space or less space, and just seeing what happens. So if you feel comfortable closing the eyes and just taking the awareness to the chest area inside the body. And taking a deep breath in, focusing the awareness on the heart. And letting the breath just become deeper. And if it feels right, just visualizing an expansion of that point in the center of the chest. So maybe an expansion, or maybe it looks more like a flowering of a plant, speeded up. So just letting it open and letting it engulf the whole body, so become more and more expanded. And from the inside, you can visualize more expansion, so as if more air is coming in and from the inside expanding. So it might look like a sphere expanding out in the chest. And just maybe noticing any sensations. Noticing maybe if there's any numbness or it's difficult to feel any sensation there. And we're just gonna take 6 final breaths together. So breathing out to prepare, and then breathing in, just keeping the awareness on the center of the chest. Filling the chest with air and stretching the intercostal muscle between the ribs, and breathing out. Breathing in, drawing the belly button towards the spine, stretching the muscles between the ribs, and breathing out. Breathing in, taking the awareness to the center of the chest, and breathing out. Breathing in, and this time as we breathe out, you can breathe out through the mouth, maybe sighing, or making a HA sound, like a sound. Breathing in, stretching the muscles, and breathing out. And last breath, breathing into the chest, and breathing out for longer than you breathed in. Once your lungs are empty, just push out the last bits of air. Great. Thanks so much, you guys.